Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Chris Legaspi. Today we're going to do a little demonstration of rendering form and lighting in a natural light setting. And we're going to use this reference here. So first I'm going to quickly analyze the light and come up with a game plan, and then we'll go through with the rendering and shading and see how far we can get with the time that we have together. And before we begin, I wanted to mention that I have a brand new course just came out this month. It's actually available now, Light and Form Mastery. So this is all of my best techniques and all of the best tools and strategies and all of the experience that I have working as a movie poster artist, having to do natural lighting, realistic lighting, invented lighting, and doing form modeling for commercial work, for fine art work, for portrait commissions. And this course is quite in depth. It's over 5 hours long, and it's one of my first courses in a long time. So if you want to level up your shading, if you've been struggling with lighting, if you don't understand lighting, if you want more realistic form, you want more three-dimensional form in your portraits and figures or your illustrations, this would be a great tool for you. So go to www.lightandform.art, lightandform.art, and then you can learn more about the course. And if you watch till the end of this video, I'll show you how you can save on this course. I'm doing a special offer for this first day launch. So make sure to watch to the end of the video. Okay, let's quickly analyze the light. This is something that I think is important to do before you start any drawing or painting, to kind of take a look at what you have, take a look at the model, take a look at your reference or whatever, and just absorb what you have and see what the model's giving you, see what the pose is giving you, and see what the light is giving you. And then also to think about how you want your drawing to look, what's important to you, what's the purpose of your drawing. Are you doing a finished illustration for a client? Are you doing a commission for a client? Or are you just sketching in your sketchbook just for fun as a hobby? So all of those things, it's good to kind of get an idea of what it is you want to do and what you have to work with. So today I want to do a lighting and form study, and I kind of want to make a form pop out, and I do want a more of a realistic look. I want a bit more of a photorealistic look, sort of an illustrative kind of look. Now the light that we have today is outdoor natural light. What does that mean? That means it's basically if you're outside and it's overcast. You can tell, well, number one, you can tell he's outside because of the background. But even if he wasn't outside, I would guess he has some big global or ambient light. That means he has a big old light above him. I know that because the wider the light, the larger the light, the softer the shadows, and the less the contrast. The biggest light known to human beings is the sky. So he's basically being lit on an overcast day, outdoor light, arguably the most beautiful and most natural. Oh, it is it is natural, but it's the most like beautiful light there is diffused natural light or softened sunlight, basically. You can tell by the soft shadows here. You can see he has soft shadows, almost no coarse shadow. You can see under the neck. His neck is darker than his face. So there's a light. You can see the highlight on his nose. You can see the highlight on his nose, the highlights on his top planes. So that right away tells me that light's from above by looking for the highlight. By looking for the shadow, you can see the shadows underneath. So you know for sure light's from above. And look at the size of the light. You can see that the highlights, they're bright, but they're not like super sharp and white. And then the shadows, yes, there are dark, but only in the occlusion shadow areas, not in the underplanes. So you can see that we're working with a soft light. And obviously, because he's outdoors, I immediately know that it's the sky. Most likely, he's being lit by the sky. Just beautiful, soft, subtle light. So generally, when you see these kind of soft shadows, you know that the light is large, has a large area, and you could replicate this in photography indoors as well with with the photographers use these big soft boxes. They're basically things you put around the light to increase the size of the light. And usually they diffuse it with some cloth to make it softer. So that kind of simulates the cloud effect, that clouds covering the sky. So that's a quick analysis of the light. So I know basically my underplanes are going to be darker, basically, and I know I'm not going to have a lot of contrast. So I have to rely more on subtlety, rely more on indication to get form and detail. And then I know that I will get a highlight, but I won't take it to white, take it to a hard specular highlight that you would get on an indoor or more of an academic spotlight setting. Let's go through the process. I want to start with some gradients. I just kind of want to put a little bit of tone on the canvas here, my paper here, my little sketchbook. Do a gradation from top to bottom because I want the light to feel like it's coming from above. Just put a little bit of a tone there, and then I'm going to put little hints at where I'm not going to render his face. It kind of gives me a nice base to work with, and then I'm just going to hint at maybe some of the highlight areas, top planes basically. Just to give him some darkness, now I'm going to just hint at some underplanes. Just hint, 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 hint. Basically, just put little touches of tone, just so I can kind of set myself up. I'm basically thinking gradation, gradation, gradation the whole time. Gradation, gradation, gradation. And those of you who illustrative work or entertainment work, this is exactly how I approach movie poster concept art that I do. So it works exactly this way. Some of these tones are a little too bright. Okay, now what I want to do is model the base forms or suggest, because we do have soft light, so I really have to rely a lot on design now. So what are base forms? Basically, eggs and cylinders. Human beings are basically eggs and cylinders, and sometimes boxes if you want to have more structure and more dramatic structure. Arms for sure are mostly cylinders, so that's an easy one. For example, both of his arms, start to model a cylinder, basically. And the cylinder, of course, is darker as it turns away from the light, and we already analyzed the light as being overhead. So basically, I'm just gonna treat these arms. Sorry, Bruce, I don't mean to call you little arms, but treat these uh, arms. I would treat any model's arms this way. So left to right, of course, the torso is also a cylinder, especially this central section. Both legs, but are cylinders, but I'm not going to detail down there. I'm just going to kind of, at least on this video, model his torso, his upper body. Okay, now let's do another set of base forms, which is the rib cage. So the rib cage is really important. Well, the torso is obviously very important, but in the torso, the thing that we need is the rib cage. So right now, his rib cage doesn't really pop in terms of form because I'm expecting to see this sort of egg-like shape for the rib cage, but I just don't really see it. What I see is more of a strong cylinder and a box at his pectoralis. I'll show you what it means. So in this particular case, normally I would look for the rib cage. I would do something like this. I'll show you quickly what I would normally do. I would normally do something like this so that we could see the rib cage form like that. But you see his abs or his ab muscles are shaped in a way where it looks very boxy. So that's what I'm going to do. Just keep it boxy. Let's see. So we got top to bottom, left to right. Now let's do some egg forms. Where are the egg forms? Of course, his shoulders are eggy, bicep eggy, biceps eggy, the meat of the forearm eggy, forearm, box of the hand, and that's pretty much it, really. Of course, his face too, but I'm not going to render his face like I said in this video. Body for now. Now let's do box forms. We have any boxy forms? We do. His box form is his pectoralis, chest muscle. Super boxy. Of course, his abdominals. Bruce Lee, famous for having body made of marble or whatever. Abdominals, abs made of marble. Students said muscles were so hard he felt like marble. Individual abs. So this is more of a detail pass, so I don't want to spend too much time here yet. I'm still kind of blocking in the overall tonal mass, and that's really important to get first. It's just this overall kind of tonal feeling. The base forms, really, that's the most important thing for me because I'm prioritizing form. I want the base forms to read very clearly from the beginning, which is what I'm doing now. I've got to be clean. I got to be disciplined and ignore details like those veins. As you know, we we all, I'm sure those of you watching this right now, you love detail just as much as I do. We all love to draw detail, so you have to be disciplined at this stage and not jump into detail. We all want to, sure you're watching this, you all can't wait to render those ab muscles in the chest and this beautiful anatomy on his shoulders, neck. We all can't wait for that. We gotta be disciplined. Let's see. Let's have a bit of a really boxy bodies. He is, God, he is like a machine. I'm looking at his form. I'm like, God, he's the most boxy person I've drawn in a long time. Maybe ever. I don't know. I see lots of boxy opportunities. Not that he literally is a box, but as when you do realism, you have to think in terms of abstract form. Secret to realism actually is abstraction, abstract thinking. And because you've been following me for a while, you've already heard that. I'm sure you know that. I kind of want to be careful with my tones. I want to put them on cleanly as possible. I don't always succeed, so you might see me erase like I'm doing now. Okay. Okay, so that's a nice quick base pass. I'm rushing a little bit, obviously. I'd like to get as much done in this video, but you can see we're getting somewhere. We have a little bit of form. We have a feeling of light somewhere and shadow somewhere. So let's keep going. Okay, now what I want to do is give myself a dark, just so I know where I'm at value-wise. Because with this soft lighting, natural lighting, you have to be a little bit more precise with your halftones. So basically, I need more halftones. Basically, you need more tones, more tone shapes. Normally I work with three, especially when we do the academic light. In this case, I'm looking at four minimum here. This stage, good for me to see how dark I can go, and then how light I can go, which will be next. So better judge the halftones. I know I said I wasn't going to render his face, but it's nice to have that bit of dark tone up there. I'm only doing this because I need to see it. So the more dark I can see, and his hair is super dark, I'm still not 100% sure what the darkest dark will be. Most likely it'll be the occlusion shadow under his armpit and his hair, possibly. What I just did there. Okay, so most likely it'll be this occlusion shadow, felt obviously. We'd like to get the fabric in there. Let's drop in a light. Okay, I'm dropping in a light now. This I know what I want the brightest to be. It'll be the top of his shoulders. And this is not pure white, but it's fairly bright. And this just kind of gives me an idea as to what I'm working with in terms of the value structure, dark or light, where, darks and lights, and how I can relate them. So, we can't leave these darks like that. Oh, I mean, we have to relate them somehow. I feel pretty good about the brightness of this highlight. I feel okay about the darkness of dark accent there. So I'm just going to move forward now and start to model. Let's see. Okay, now I'm going to start to model. the form. So be a bit more specific now. Now we can have a little bit of fun. Now we can make his nipples darker. Or Bruce. He's rolling over in his grave now. He's like, what are you doing? He does have a shape to his cast shadow. Another cast shadow. There's a couple cast shadows actually. It's quite interesting. Another clue that light from above, of course. Says shadow shape is very clear. See the one on his stomach here, where this area right here that I'm working on. Sorry if you don't hear me talking. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. I like to get as much done. Obviously, if I talk, just gonna slow everything down. But I'm basically modeling now. Little bit, almost there. Almost not quite there yet. Almost there. Setting myself up still a little bit. Making sure that these details and these highlights look good together. Those flashes of highlight now. go too bright, right? Because of hierarchy, about the hierarchy that I talk about all the time. It's super important. When you do highlights, you can't make them all the same brightness. Of course, we know that already. If you've been following me for a while, you've heard that 100 times. Okay, let me quickly zoom out and evaluate my work. Okay, so I like to step away from my work as often as possible. If you're working traditionally, I would literally step away. I do this constantly. I stop, I step away from the drawing. I look at it from 20 feet away or in meters. What is that? Sorry. 8 meters? 6 meters? Something like that? 7 meters away? You can see the overall effect. This is the time to ask yourself, does my lighting look good? Do my shapes look good? Are my values reading? Is my contrast okay? How do my highlights look? Now is the time to really think and evaluate where you're at. Looking at what I have so far, comment below what are some things that you notice or maybe that you would improve or you would refine as you develop. For me, I notice his nipples are too much contrast. I think the shoulder, the right shoulder, the model's left is too dark. The tone on that's too dark. It's too much contrast at the armpit. I think there at the bicep, or there's not enough tone at the arm. He also needs to be clearly separated from the background. He's kind of like merging in, which I don't really want. But for now, it's fine. And that's about it. That's about it. So now that I have a good, fresh perspective, I can come back and resume what I was doing. All right, so we got some good work in. Stepped away. So got an idea of where we're at, what needs to be improved, what can we do, what can we change, what can we refine. Always thinking, 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 thinking and designing. That's the hallmark of an expert. Thinking and designing instead of blindly copying. You want to think, 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 think all the time. Think about what you're doing. Think about the subject. Think about what you want to say. Think about how you want it to look. That's very important. So thinking and designing, thinking and describing. There was a little too much contrast felt with this cast shadow, so I'm going to knock it down a bit. correcting the value here. And really, what you're seeing now is basically, we're basically done with the block-in. Oh, right, I am done with block-in. That's why I'm in the refinement stage. And basically, this is the process from here until the finish is refine, 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 refine. We'll make some marks, adjust some shapes, adjust some values, refine some edges, and then step away, just like we just did. Evaluate, where are you in the drawing? Did the changes you made, do they look good? The refinements you made, do they look good? Are the forms reading? Are the values reading? Are the shapes reading? Are the highlights too bright? Are they too dark? Those kind of things. And that's all really that I will do from now and for the next, I don't know how long this will take. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get to that finishing stage on camera. But as you can see, we have a good, pretty solid block-in, and we have a lot of things working already, which is great. It's exactly all we could ask for is that we're making progress. It looks it looks a little bit better every time we make a mark, and we're moving towards the finish line, and things are clear. We also want to make sure that whatever stage we're at, we have clarity, and I would argue we have a lot of things reading really, really well right now. That's one thing to also to practice and to think about is, being able to assess yourself and doing checks like what we just did. The other check is the mirror check, and we'll do that in a minute. I think that'll be a good stopping point here. His chest is not quite rolling the way I want. He has a form here. It's mostly flat, his pectoralis muscle, but there is a hint of rib cage form. So I want to show that. I want to show the wrap of the rib cage around. That's what I see in the model, but I don't see in my drawing quite yet. So that's not good. I'm not happy with that. That's one of the things that I notice all the time in students' work and in my own work. You see this little shape? This will be a good stopping point here. So what I'm after, there is a cylindrical roll. I'm after this. So I don't quite have it, but it's in the pectoralis. It's in the reference, and I need his pectoralis. I need to design the tones in his pectoralis, the value gradation, basically, so that it feels like there's an eggy form underneath the pectoralis muscle, which is it. There is the rib cage. Pectoralis muscle is a flat muscle that sits on top of your rib cage, and it does have form, and it's a little bit of fat. And I know it's Bruce Lee, but he does have maybe 1% fat here. So there is fat and skin and tissue here that's also helping to give the chest muscle, pectoralis muscle, some volume. So that's what's missing at this stage. I don't quite have it yet, but that's what you just saw me do. That's what I was describing. So that's what I want to get to. And the last thing I want to talk about, one of the tools that I use to get form, to get realism, when the lighting like this is not the easiest light. Natural light is quite difficult, especially when you want to get right, is to design, 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 design. So one of the things I can do, he has a cast shadow, right? We just talked about it right here, right? So I can design the shape of the cast shadow to show as much or as little form as I want. For example, I can curve this part of the cast shadow like that. You see that? There's a difference between that and this. Do you guys see the difference? This is flat. We don't want that. This feels like form. Do you see the difference? And it is so subtle and minuscule, but this little design change will make or break your form. Believe me, cast shadows are basically lines. He has a cast shadow here on his chest. So I could copy the reference, it's a bit flat like that, or I could design it like this. You see the difference? You see the difference? Remember, I could make that this curve right here. I could make it flat, but it will be flat. It will be flat. So I want to do curves. So that's an example of design, just like what you saw with the cast shadow here. Of course, I'm going to play with that to show form. I could make it I can make it straight and it'll look terrible, right? You see already that looks terrible. I can make it curve and already it feels better. And like what I have is curve. And I can take it one step further and do this. I can go curve and then subtle bump and then back to curve. You see that little bump right there? That is form described by my design of the line, nothing else. Well, of course, there's a value difference too, but that is just one of the tools that I use to get realistic form is I'm constantly designing to suggest the form that I want. And right now I want eggy forms, rib cage looking forms. So I'm using design as one of the many tools that I have. Okay, that's the end of today's lesson. Before we go, I wanted to announce my brand new course, Lighting and Form Mastery. It is available today. Today, it's live and ready to go. I did have a little private pre-launch, but now this is officially ready for the public. So if you missed the pre-launch, you can check it out at lightandform.art, and this is the page. You can see a video and you can read much more about it. You can even preview some of the chapters in the course. This course is over 5 hours long, so it's a really some of my best tools, techniques, and teachings on lighting and realistic form. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I'm currently a professional in the movie poster business. You're getting some of the best real world stuff that I use every day to do movie posters, video game concept art, and things like that. And to thank you for watching to the end, so go to lightandform.art. When you're ready to check out, enter the code light and form and you could save $50 off this course. So this is my thank you for watching this video and sort of to celebrate the launch of this new course. Here's the code. There's the site, lightandform.art. You will be able to enter this at checkout. So that's all for today. So until next time, get out there, keep drawing, and build up that mileage. Bye for now.